Hey, everybody. Today's episode is titled Hitting the Simplification of Chaos. So I think it's important to simplify this monster that's called hitting in this game of baseball. And the chaos kind of exemplifies the, some of the movements and the timing and or the lack of time we have and reaction and how fast everything happens. It's literally can be almost a blur, right? So it's important to simplify things, break things down. And this is a bit of a challenge to myself because I don't want to have some lengthy episode on hitting and breaking everything down and over analyzing everything and getting too in depth in it, because it is important to simplify. So I'm gonna try to keep this short and give you my philosophy in the shortest amount of time as possible. So my philosophy on hitting, and this plays at all levels. My philosophy on hitting is broken down, if you look at it, into three parts. Okay, so it's like a book with three chapters. The first chapter is the swing. The second chapter is the timing. The third chapter is pitch selection. So we have swing, timing, and pitch selection. Obviously, with the swing, it's where we get a little more technical, mechanical. We can have problems with overcoaching. It becomes mental for the hitter along with physical, and it can create a lot of problems. So I'm a really big fan of simplifying the swing. And to do that, I hone in on four body parts: the head, the hands, the hips, and the feet. So from the top, head, hands, hips, and feet. So four body parts encompassing what I think are the most important parts of the swing. And when things go wrong, it's one of those four things: head, hands, hips, feet. Speaking of the head, keeping it still, it's where our vision's at, our eyesight. We don't want a lot of movement in the head, and it's a real challenge to keep our head still and have really quick, violent motions with things like our hands and our hips throughout the swing process. And we want to keep that head still, so our sight line on the ball is better. So our hands are the next part, obviously, for barrel control and bat speed. Equally important, our hands. Our hands control the barrel of the bat. We want our hands to take us to the ball, get behind the ball, get through the ball. We don't want our body to be influenced too much on the control of our barrel, which is of the utmost importance. So I'll have terms like more hands, less body. I like to remind hitters of that, because our body can get in the way. So our hands is that second key point in the swing. Our hips are very important. Hip rotation, the explosiveness of the hips, the pop of the hips to go along with the hands and hips, in my opinion, creates the majority, if not all, of the bat speed, hands and hips. So that's the third little key there: head, hands, hips. And then our feet's the foundation of our swing. If we don't have balance, if we don't have body control, we're not going to have a good swing. And we're going to be very vulnerable to a pitcher's pitches. So our feet's very important, not just the stride and pivot, but like I said, the balance and body control. And there's some timing aspects in that as well, as far as our stride. So the feet are very important. Footwork is so important. I'll have sessions in the cage where we're just working footwork. And I think hitters should just have days or sessions where today I'm working on my footwork, my stride, my pivot, my landing spot for my stride, which is more important than anything. It's not where you start, it's where you land. And again, that'll all go together with the other three parts too. Allowing your hips to explode, allowing your hands to get the barrel to the ball, And then, like we talked about, our head position and keeping our head as still as possible throughout the process. So, chapter 1 was the swing, and underneath that, within the swing, those 4 body parts. And we could go more in depth, but we want to just leave it at that for now. So the second chapter, timing. Okay, timing's very important. Preparation, for me, is how I usually start the conversation with timing. I think it's important to be prepared, important to know what you're getting into. Is your opponent, the pitcher, throwing hard? Is he throwing slow? Does he have a good secondary pitches? When does he like to throw them? So you're getting prepared. You're getting prepared. The more knowledge and information you have on what you're facing, the better your timing should hone in, right? Because ultimately it's a reaction. It's kind of this, goes back to this hand-eye coordination type thing that is going to promote the best possible timing on this baseball. Meeting the barrel of the bat with the baseball in the time we want it to inflict the most damage, bat speed, impact as possible. So meeting the pitch at the right time, very important. Preparation to go along with that, okay? Preparing for what you're facing, understanding the situation. Next little step there, anticipation. I urge my hitters to anticipate, but also understand and break down the difference between anticipation and guessing. So a lot of hitters, if I talk about anticipation and get ready and prepare, nowhere in there is guessing. We don't want to start guessing what pitch is coming. It's a reaction. Anticipate. We have to anticipate fastball, but we don't guess fastball. We don't put all our eggs in one basket that the fastball is coming. In certain counts, you can anticipate a certain pitch, but you don't guess, and you don't just dive into that one pitch, because the production when you guess wrong is minimal to nothing. So we don't want to guess, we want to react. It's an important part of hitting, and it helps us with our timing. A lot of times you'll see at all levels, if hitters start guessing certain pitches and they get out ahead of themselves, they get anxious, overstride, leaning, lunging, reaching, this stuff kind of affects their timing in a negative way. So keep it real in the manner of reacting to the baseball, but having a good understanding of what anticipation is. Anticipate. Get ready. Don't get beat. Don't be late. Anticipate. Expect. But nowhere in there is the word guess. And it takes a lot of, it's a fine line, and it takes a lot of training, repetitions, experimentation to get good at that. Pitch recognition helps timing as well, recognizing the baseball early out of the pitcher's hand. I talk to a lot of hitters, and especially younger hitters just starting to learn the game. They see the ball too late. Some people will tell me they pick up the ball halfway to home plate, or 3/4 to home plate, and that's just simply too late. Pick up the baseball out of the pitcher's hand. Very simple equation. The longer you see the ball, the more time you have to react to it. In time, when we're talking about under a second to accomplish this whole thing, from see the ball and hit it, time is of value here, is of the utmost importance. So we need that distance. We need to slow down the pitch by seeing it for a longer period of time and recognizing it. So a little reminder, even for more experienced hitters, that recognition early as possible is so important. It'll allow you in the long run to start identifying off-speed pitches and location as well. So pitch recognition. Adjusting is a big part of timing. Understand, I comment a lot about how every pitch you see your whole baseball career could be a different speed and location. Obviously, a lot of them are going to be close, right? But even a guy who steadily throws between 85 and 90 miles an hour, he still technically is not throwing the same speed every pitch, and surely not hitting the exact same location. So there's this huge word in hitting, adjustments, right? Making adjustments, but in what we're talking about now is adjusting your timing too, right? So you have to tweak based on speed and location of pitches. Excuse me. So that term adjust your timing. Adjust your timing, and it goes back to preparation as well, knowing who you're facing. Information is very powerful and has a lot of impact on being a good hitter. At the higher levels, there's full reports on pitchers and hitters, lengthy reports, strengths and weaknesses, how to get them out. And you want to know. You want to know so you can be able to adjust. So you're always adjusting. So the third chapter, pitch selection. So just to go back, we've talked about swing, timing, and now the third part of my philosophy, and possibly the most important part, and what I call the differentiator. This is going to make the difference probably in your career at the higher levels, will be pitch selection. It's why we, so commonly see, the 12-year-old kid who's, just a monster and dominates Little League, because his hand-eye coordination and his, physical stature might be such at a high level that he just swings at everything, and everything's kind of the same speed, and he just crushes everything inside and outside the zone. And then that hitter starts to face higher level pitching, and pitchers start to get out of the zone a little more with their off-speed pitches. They throw harder. They set up their off-speed pitches with better fastballs. So the game changes very quickly on the pitch selection side. And you want to be able to adjust and keep progressing forward with your career. And pitch selection is one of these huge things to, and I won't say master because no one ever masters pitch selection, but to always be training on pitch selection. And what pitch selection, the simple definition is the ability to swing at more strikes and take balls. So swing at strikes and take balls. And the ability to know the difference. It's basically a decision-making process. Many times I'll have sessions in the cage with hitters, and they'll ask me what we're going to do today, and I'll say, well, we're going to work on our decision-making. And what that means is we're going to sharpen up and refine and make the hitter react with no time on that decision, whether he needs to take or attack a certain pitch. And that can be accomplished in soft toss from short distances to coach's batting practice, to live simulated scrimmage situations. But in practice sessions, I'm always implementing pitch selection. Obviously, off the tee you can't, but when the ball gets moving or is being thrown in any way, shape, or form, you can practice pitch selection, and that's the ability to take pitches. It's very important. Everybody's practicing their swing and taking swings and hitting off machines and hitting and, working on driving the ball, and that's good. There's certainly a place for that. But not a lot of people are practicing taking pitches. And when you look at the best hitters, they take more pitches than they swing at. So I challenge you, how often do you practice taking pitches and identifying pitches? And identifying what your strengths are, what your zones are, where you can drive the ball. And anything outside of that zone, first of all, setting that zone, and then understanding that anything outside of that zone is something that you want to take, and getting familiar with the process of taking. So seeing the ball, obviously, is a big part of that. The better hitter sees the ball, the better, grasp they have on where it's going. And the earlier they see it, we talked about that in pitch recognition, the easier it is to determine take or attack. And that little term right there, take or attack, I say that all the time. To me, what that means is there's two things a hitter wants to do: either take a pitch or attack a pitch. And anything in between is garbage. That's the lean-in, lunging, reaching, check swings, half swings, off balance, waving at it, chasing outside of the zone. it's going to lead to what I think is the worst way to make an out, and that's a weak out. I'm talking psychologically for a hitter. Obviously, contact plays a big part of the game. But as far as how you should feel about your at-bats and your progression, weak contact, weak outs are very frustrating and can get into your head a little bit, and we can go into repeat mode on those. So keep in mind that take or attack spectrum. I like hitters to stay on the far one side or the far other side, take or attack. I think you can tell a good hitter, I can tell a good hitter by the way they take pitches. How's their body control, how's their balance, their comfortability in the batter's box, how well they're seeing the ball, or if you can see if they're anxious, overstriding, it doesn't look smooth, they're getting off balance, their hands are coming forward. These are all negative things you're looking at when you're determining if someone's seeing the ball well, and then which is going to play into how well their pitch selection is. I tell hitters their little internal attitude or their approach leading up to their at-bat or their mindset, part of that should be, telling themselves that this pitcher needs to come to me or he's going to walk me. And it's his decision. Take your pick. Come to me or walk me. And that's going to be the battle that we'll pursue within that at-bat. And that's a challenge you're always laying out. Pitch selection, so important. Many, many, many good hitters throughout this game. But if they don't have that high-level pitch selection, they're not getting better. And you've seen that in a lot of the top hitters nowadays, taking their walks, understanding that the pitcher's got to come to them. That's where their bread and butter is. That's when they drive the ball. We want to slug as a hitter, doubles, triples, home runs. That means driving the baseball. That means getting pitches to do it with. So pitch selection, very important. Just to elaborate a little further, a couple things I tell, parents of young hitters or hitters at any level really. But usually when I'll meet somebody and maybe it's their first lesson or they're not into lesson-based training yet, simple basic stuff I'll ask a parent, never having seen their kid hit in a game. I'll ask them, do they look balanced? Do they look on time? And do they look like they're swinging hard? So these are little simple steps for you, maybe parents of young hitters, what you're watching at the games. And you don't have to know baseball very well, but, if you're seeing a loss of balance in the batter's box or you're seeing bad timing where it's just really late or really early, or you're seeing your hitter not swinging hard, feeling for the ball, 50%, 75%, you're wondering where that extra oomph is. These are some really basic but bad detrimental things going on that are going to play out later in the career, and you don't want that to happen. So that's just on a side note. But again, just to recap, simplifying my philosophy on hitting, 3 things, right? 3 chapters: swing, timing, and pitch selection. And underneath swing, we've got our 4 main body parts: head, hands, hips, feet. Timing, we got preparation, anticipation, pitch recognition, reacting, adjusting to what you're seeing, and pitch selection, decision making, right? Seeing the ball, that take or attack spectrum, how you want to be on the far one side or the other, take or attack, no in between. And then just trust the process. Experimentation. Experiment when you're training, right? Challenge yourself. Tell yourself, when your coach is batting practice, you have to challenge yourself. That's not the hardest thing you're going to be faced with in baseball is coach's batting practice. But when you start challenging yourself to stay back, or how long you can wait before you throw your hands, and mastering your barrel control, which you can do off the tee with a lot of work. That's what the tee's really good for, mastering that barrel control. Soft toss and BP, implements more timing and pitch selection. Challenge yourself to get pitch selection training in your practices, right? You don't want the only time you're practicing taking pitches is to be in the game, because that's too late and you'll get swallowed up and you'll get passed by. So start to implement pitch selection in your soft toss. Don't have the person throw you over the middle of the plate every time. Mix in pitches, low, high, outside, in, whatever. Coach's BP. No one throws a strike every time. So take pitches if they're balls, and analyze yourself, self-analyze yourself all the time. Did you feel comfortable with that take? Did you, I always tell hitters, put your body in the best position to strike. Put your body in the best position to strike as that ball approaches. If a pitcher gets your body out of position, loss of body control or balance, you're done. You're going to give in. You're not going to be able to put your maximum effort into that swing. And the further we lose that, the less chance we have to have a successful at-bat. So thanks for listening. There's some other cool videos and episodes on my YouTube channel, Cappy's Cage. Questions or comments are welcome. And that's all I got.